Thanks everybody for joining today for our weekly office hours session. My name is Dallin Davenport, and really excited to spend some time with you all today. And really, the purpose of why we're doing this type of meeting every week is to help make sure that you are in tune with the best and most helpful capabilities inside of the Redlist platform for each of your use cases. And we have a lot of great things to share today, and especially around the digital data collection piece of our forms tool. And so just really quickly, for those of you who maybe have not done as much with our digital forms tool, Redlist has the capabilities for you to take any type of checklist that you do on paper today and move that, I should say, convert that into more of a format that can be filled out on a mobile device or even on your computer. And it's a lot of times related to a procedure that you may be doing anyway that you would like to get rid of the paper piece and not have to chase down the paper as much. And so what we really are going to focus on today is how you can understand just where to find this tool first and foremost, but the tools and settings that can also allow you to dictate how it should behave, how your checklists and procedures can also look at the end. We have different PDF designs that if you need the PDF output to be sent to someone in another department or within your own team, to your manager or someone outside of your company, these are things that are very useful that we really want to make sure that you can take advantage of. And so, and also there are other things that we'll cover around just your basic thing, permissions, who can access what, and just some final pieces around customization as well. And so just without further ado, I'll hop into the Redlist application, and we'll cover today some pieces on the web app, and then maybe go through a little bit of just you know how I can ensure that what my changes that I've made are working properly as I do things in the mobile app. And so uh, I'll hop over here inside of the menu on the left for the Forms tool, and this is where you're going to find the ability to submit these checklists on a computer. Like I said, we'll talk about how you can do that on the mobile app as well, but the focus will especially be in what we call our form template settings. So we have here in this demo account a few examples. Many of these are related to lubrication procedures on different types of components. I will say as well that you could build templates in here to perform condition checks. You could also build a digital checklist. Maybe it's already on paper for like a workplace area inspection, a pre-op, any of those types of things that'll allow your lubrication team, your reliability team, or even your operations team for your operators to take advantage of collecting data and having that data be presented and reported in a way that is more automated and also more presentable and understandable. So here you can see I have a few examples. I'm going to go ahead and just click on this one here. This one's more of a repair request procedure. So maybe I'm in the middle of performing work, such as a lubrication route. I find a problem on a piece of equipment. This can be the tool that allows me to set up a digital way for me to collect the information on what's wrong with a piece of equipment and have that be sent to somebody who can help resolve that for me, or at least get that approved for the team to get it resolved. So I'll also put in a plug as well. This page, I won't go in great detail on everything. There are training courses inside of Redlist University, so you can find that inside of our help tool. There's this tasks section where you can go and find the course that you need. There's one specifically to creating forms. So if you want to know more about how you can really build out these checklists entirely, this is the video that we highly recommend. It's going to really be useful. Our man, Trevor Schaefer, who you're all very familiar with, has done a great job at building out a good course that will make you an expert really in how to build those. But my focus today is going to be more specific to what we call our form settings. So inside of the form settings, this is where once you've built out really the questions that you want answered inside of the checklist, whatever the nature of that checklist may be, you have the ability to now format how things should work and look. So I'll start out here at the top inside of the settings window. We have here the option for basically what we call our PDF format. This first one that's filled in right now, this is the recommended format for the Redlist PDF. It's the most up to date, the most supported, has the most capabilities. So I'll talk mostly about that one. So if any of you are using the legacy PDF view, just know that it's going to work great. We'll still support it. You will miss out on key features and capabilities if you do have that selected. Nonetheless, we still leave that option open to you. Lastly, we have in here our custom PDF tool. This is a tool that allows you to, really in a straightforward way, design, for lack of a better, that's the word, design how the PDF should actually work. Why would we have this? Why should this be an important tool for you to know? A lot of times when you are working in your space, maybe you report to, maybe there are things you need to report for incidents or to a regulatory body. It may be, it may be MSHA, maybe OSHA, the Department of Environmental Quality. So those are things that you can't just fill out data for and have it spit out in any format. You will have to, make sure that you match up to their approved format. And so this is where you can actually upload that design in an Excel format into this upload section here and really map out, how you want that to look. So this is a great tool for that. It does take a little more work, but nonetheless a helpful one. But I'm going to hop back over here into the PDF portion, the Redlist recommended version of our format, and go down the line of the capabilities that you have available to you. So first and foremost, we have a general section, which another way to describe it is, how do I want my checklist to work? How do I want it to report things to people? And maybe even how do I want it to look as I'm filling it out? And so you have here a few options. So this first checkbox is really a specific setting to the mobile app. You can say, if I have a really long checklist, sometimes you do, and it's broken up into lots of sections, there are lots of things that I need to report on. That checkbox will allow you to, instead of have to load a really long version and scroll forever to get through the end of this report, we call it, it's what we call paginating a section. You can break your sections of your form, your checklist, into their own pages. So you can have a section where you fill out those questions, hit the next arrow over, and it flips you into the next page to fill out the questions for the following sections. And so just know that that is something that if you have a longer type of checklist, longer type of procedure that you're reporting and collecting data on, that's a really helpful option. Another thing that you have here is the option to allow edits after a digital form is completed. This checkbox is really helpful to have controls around. It is specific to each template. This is not, okay, no one can edit any, all templates in our account. It's maybe you have a report that once that data is submitted, it's probably best to not have anyone go back in and change that information for security purposes or sensitive data reasons. So you do have control over that as well. We leave that checked by default, but you're able to deselect that if you do not want to allow people to edit their submissions. This next one's actually really helpful for those who are taking advantage of the lubrication management piece or the work order tools in Redlist. We have in here the option to say, in my checklist, if I find problems, not only do I want tasks to be generated for our team to follow up on, but this says auto group tasks into a work order. So our digital forms tools, the benefits of moving from paper is you're not only filling things out digitally, but it can automatically create tasks. And this option will also say all of the problems you found in that single report are going to be grouped into a work order for the team to look over, eventually, plan out and execute on. And so that's a setting that if you do have it selected, we do allow you to organize these work orders into what we call your board. So not only are you saying, yes, I want these tasks created in a work order automatically, but you're also able to specify what area or category you need these work orders being bucketed into. And you can also base visibility of these work orders, these repair requests off of a region or a department, just so that it's not confusing. You may have several things reported in a day, but maybe you just need to see what's for your department. So these are really helpful tools in that aspect. We also have a setting here that in Redlist, your digital checklist, maybe you could potentially answer 20 questions, not like the game 20 questions, but you have 20, instead of you saying, oh, I'm just going to skip that question because it's irrelevant. There are settings in Redlist that allow you to say, oh, if I say yes to this question, then make this other question visible. If I say no, then don't make that question visible. So these are just some settings here that allow you to kind of create a chain of visibility. If I say yes, make this visible, and then if I say yes to this one too, make this visible. So you can check that to say I would like to honor that. And it's a really helpful tool. It saves, I would say, real estate space most of all, if you know that you don't necessarily have to fill out all of those 20 questions every time, but to just make questions visible when they become applicable. And then we also have a setting here that's really specific use case that there are sometimes cases where Redlist, we support offline capabilities. We allow you to complete your work and your checklist while offline. There are sometimes cases though where companies do want to force that people complete their work while they're online. Sometimes that's so that they know that when the work is submitted, it's reported immediately and on time. But there are, parameters you can set to say, I do want to prevent people from submitting work while they're offline. So you do have that option. So that's a little bit about, some more specific granular settings that maybe you weren't aware of about how you could make your digital forms behave. Another thing too that I will share now is this PDF section about how you want, this PDF to look. So sometimes a PDF of the output of your report can be very simple. It can simply just say what piece of equipment you're reporting something on, show the data, you're done. Some people in their companies, and maybe in your own team, you may want to actually generate a cover page. So whatever piece of equipment you are performing a procedure for or inspecting, it can actually take the picture of that piece of equipment with the information on the front page saying, this is this is a visual kind of professional look of helping what this report is for. And so you do have that option. It's very straightforward. You just, if you do use this, I recommend that you make sure that your assets, your pieces of equipment have pictures on them. And that way your cover page doesn't look super empty. The next thing I'll share here is the ability to create a header on every page of your PDF. And what that really means is a lot of times there's critical information about a piece of equipment that you're inspecting. And maybe you just want that quickly viewable on every page. Maybe it's you wanting to see the make and model, the serial number, whatever that may be. You can go in and say, I want to configure my header, and whatever questions you've built out in your form, you can say, I want to pin these to my header, right? So right now, the only question I have pinned in here is the equipment number. But if I had more questions to pin, I could throw them into here. I believe the limit is 8, but then you can reorder them, and that way it looks really nice. It's, you don't have to say, oh, what's that information I should be looking at, that's critical. And if it's not in the header, you may have to go all the way back to the front page again, whatever that scenario may be. But this setting is really useful for that. Similar application here is having a footer. We have a little more of a, I could say, kind of boxed in solution for this, but it's just simply deciding, do I want to show the name of the person at the bottom in the footer of who submitted this this checklist. You can also show a timestamp of when that was completed. And then we also have here a privacy policy. Sometimes companies need to show a privacy policy saying, this is our data, this, I filled out this report. This is our data. No one else can do anything with this data, without our consent, things like that. Okay, and then following this setting here, you can also say, I want, maybe again in Redlist, we have more of a generic name for what we would call an area or a region, or a department. And we have a setting here that basically says, okay, if I'm filling out a report and it's for this specific department, I want to show that this report filled out was for this specific department. And so you would be able to say, whatever region in my form is selected at that time, I want in the PDF design that displayed. I want to display that this is for this certain department. That can be helpful, especially if you have a lot of departments, maybe using the same exact checklist form. Without this, it may get more complicated where you have the same template for every department and it just can get messy. So these are settings that allow you to create the one checklist that's shared across the company, but when someone picks what department they're in, it's going to give credit, obviously, to that department. And then other things here, one of my favorites is this one where you can actually decide and say, inside of the Redlist form, you can build your questions to have buttons that are colored. This setting says, if my buttons are green, blue, and orange, and I select blue, I want that PDF to show that my answer was selected as blue or as orange. And visually, that can make your PDFs look that much more professional. But from a practical standpoint, having colors really helps whoever these reports are going to quickly, our brains connect with colors well, so they can quickly hop to, what is that orange thing? What is that red thing? They can see that everything else is probably fine because it's green, but these colors can really help you hone in quickly on issues that are more serious. And then, below here, you can also say, if a certain question that has a color gray, maybe gray means not applicable in your report, you can actually say, anything I mark as gray from my procedure or my checklist or inspection, don't even show it in the PDF. So you can actually set up exclusions for those settings. And then another thing here that a lot of people really take advantage of is photo size. We allow you to upload pictures of the things that you're inspecting. We want this to be a visual report for those who are completing it and filling it out, as well as the recipient of those who, these reports are being sent to. And depending on how you want your spacing and sizing and detail, we really just let you choose. Do I want a very large picture? Maybe the people I work with will do better with seeing big pictures. Or can I fit, some smaller pictures into the same space that are, in the medium size or in the small size? So you're welcome to test those out. They're really useful. And you can adjust this at any time. You also have an option here to say, I want the pictures that I do take to be sent down to at the bottom of my report in an appendix section. If I deselect this checkbox, then what happens is those pictures don't go into an appendix section at the bottom. What they'll do is put the pictures right next to the question that you filled out. So if you do prefer to have more of the read only text details, read through in the top of your checklist and report, that's great. You would want this box checked. If you would rather that your answers in the report as well as pictures are right next to each other, you would want this checkbox to be deselected. And then another thing here is you have the option to also say, when I submit this report, let's say maybe there's something I do monthly. Maybe you want to see the last submission or the last two submissions in the past. This basically allows those who review what you're reporting to say, okay, this is what was submitted today by Dallin, but the PDF will also include what you or someone else in your team submitted, in the past month or the past 2 months, and they can compare those results. So again, really up to preference what you need. If you do feel that, hey, that's a feature that could really be helpful for when this gets sent to someone and they can, start to compare how things are trending of what was answered this time versus last, it's a great feature to take advantage of. And then lastly, we have here our section for access. So in this section here, we have the ability to just determine, based on user roles that you have set up in your account, you can say who can have access to submit these reports. This is really also a very important thing to understand, so that if you have multiple roles in your company and you want to make sure that it is accessible to, let's say technicians and managers, but not so much, I mean, I wouldn't say supervisors, but I'll just say it, supervisors and owners, right? You can you can like start separating that out. And a lot of times managing these permissions well will in turn result into just a cleaner interface for the people who are doing the work. That helps them really just see the reports and checklists that are applicable only to them. If we don't manage this well, then they just get a list of every single template that you've built, and it can turn into them feeling frustrated because they're not sure why it's visible or if they should even be doing some of these checklists and procedures. So just making sure that you can set up your roles properly and then assign these digital forms, these templates to the right roles will go a long way, and it will help simplify the view for everybody. And so with that, that's in a nutshell the main thing that I wanted to share on this PDF section here. I will say, just coming back to the custom piece, if you do in fact want to, if you do want some help on setting up a custom PDF, then you can click on our help link. Oops, wrong one. That might be the wrong, maybe out of date. We do have some other help articles in our help section below here where you can get some help on that. But basically, the thing I would say is that there's no specific Excel template you have to open up. You just open up an Excel sheet. And then you fill in, logos or fields, you name those fields, and then inside of the Redlist tool on this form builder, there's on each question we have an identifier code. So every time I add a new question, you can see this first one is QID, UHU. I can copy that code to my clipboard and map it into my custom PDF. But you can see here every time I hit plus again, it's going to be a new code, QID 9P3. And each of those codes are unique for every time you add a question. So those just really help you build out your custom PDFs. If you have questions as well, as mentioned on custom PDFs, I highly recommend you take advantage of chatting with our team on that, and you'll get results from our team as well as our AI Red to guide you through that process. I did say that I was going to show a little bit on the mobile app, but probably what I would recommend more is just play with those settings, and then when whatever settings you do adjust, you can just now submit the form with those new changes, and then you can go into view entries basically in here, and it would load up your submissions to whatever template you pick, and then you can preview that PDF and see what it is, how that PDF is looking now based on the changes that you've made. So I just thinking about it, that's probably the best option I would go with is take advantage of those settings, test them out, come back into this page here, preview what that's looking like, and then you can go from there. The last thing I'll say too is if I do make changes and I want to make sure those changes apply to previous submissions, you can hit this PDF preview button, and there's actually a yellow button that will appear, and it'll say refresh PDF. So that'll allow you to refresh it and for that specific submission and let those changes happen for your design. So yeah, in a nutshell, the big why of why you want to take advantage of these settings is really to make sure that the right people have access, things are looking the way you want it to look. Especially if these reports are critical to turning around a repair or a fix or any type of correction, even safety related, and by designing these the right way or in a way that makes the most sense, it'll allow your team to digest what is being reported in the fastest possible manner. And then also, obviously, lastly, allowing you to dictate how things will behave and flow and notify the rest of your team. And so that's really what I had to present today for our little mini weekly session. But I will open up the time for any questions. Thank you so much for those who stuck through to the end. And yeah, we'll just kind of leave a moment here for any questions that come up. Sounds good. Well, you also know if you have any questions, offline that you need to reach out to, you can always contact our team, and we're always excited to make sure that you can understand these capabilities the best way possible to take advantage for your team. We really appreciate you all, and thank you so much for your time.